Hi, my name's Nick, and this is my review of Star Wars Episode 3. This is my favorite single episode, and a lot of people say Empire is the best. This is my pick for best episode. It's the dramatic high point of the prequels. This is what we've all been waiting for. Since Episode 1 was announced, we knew that we'd finally get to see how Anakin turns into Darth Vader. And so, for 6 years, from 1999, the release of Episode 1, to 3 years in between each of the three movies, we've been waiting 6 years to find this out. We had heard through osmosis, just stories getting out, people who'd read George's outline. It involved a lava planet, and I think it might have been established that he was fighting a Jedi. I don't know if it was locked down that it was Obi-Wan or not, but that's all we knew, is that it involved a lava planet, and that he had lost some limbs, maybe. But there's a lot to get into, and I'm mostly just going to be listing all the cool stuff in this movie, because it is so packed with cool stuff. There's not a bad moment in it. Right from the beginning, we open in a massive space battle, where the Chancellor's been kidnapped, and we have just tons and tons of ships fighting over Coruscant. There's an awesome single shot that starts us off in the movie where the Jedi ships fly around all the different capital ships. And it's cool because you get to see it's like naval combat, but in space. Two big ships line up next to each other with their cannons aligned and just open fire. And so it continues that metaphor. You know, we get to finally see Anakin as the best star pilot in the galaxy, which we heard he was from the original trilogy. We finally get to see him in action flying, which we haven't really seen yet. They make this really daring and awesome entry into the capital ship that's got the Chancellor on it. And then they jump out of their Jedi ships, and the second they hit the ground, they start slashing robots apart with their lightsabers, and just such great action. Really well blended CGI models and live action models. You know, they had this down to a science at this point. R2 gets a great moment where you get to see what a badass he is, where he sprays these two super battle droids with oil and then sets them on fire with his little rocket thrusters, which is pretty hardcore for a cute little droid. Then we're into the Dooku fight, where Anakin and Obi-Wan fight Count Dooku, where he pretty much showed them both up at the end of Episode 2, and they get to make up for that by defeating him. Well, Anakin does. Obi-Wan gets taken out like a bitch pretty early on, but Anakin takes him out single-handedly, you know, showing what a great and skilled sword fighter he is. And then he has him at his mercy with his and Dooku's lightsabers crossed like that at his neck. And he doesn't want to kill him, but Palpatine is right there and just says, do it. He doesn't give him any reasons, he just commands him, and he does it. Anakin kills Dooku, and you can see on the look on Dooku's face that this was not part of the plan, that he was not informed beforehand that this is going to happen. But he doesn't give the game away, he's a trooper till the end. I mean, at that point he'd lost both his hands. Well, he could get robot hands, but still, what was he going to do? You can't go against your leader, even if he's going to kill you right there in front of you. So, I just want to point out Palpatine's control of Anakin at this point, not like an overt control, not like an official control, but his subliminal control is almost complete. He has ingrained himself so deeply into Anakin's mind and heart that he'll just do things on his advice without even questioning it. Afterwards he says, I shouldn't have done that, it's not the Jedi way. And Palpatine's like, oh, well, he was too dangerous to be left alive. But it's not entirely complete, because Palpatine then wants Anakin to leave Obi-Wan behind as they make their escape. And here he does stick up and says, no, his fate will be the same as ours. And so he insists on carrying Obi-Wan during the rescue. Before they escape the ship, though, they get caught by General Grievous and taken to him. And R2 causes this cool distraction where everything on his head explodes all at once, with shocks and sounds and lights flashing. And the Jedi get their lightsabers back, and they take out all the robots in the room. And I wanted to point out the Magna Guards. They're the guys with these long staff things with electrified ends. And you can see them blocking lightsabers, not just with the ends of the electrified ends, which you would imagine electrified weapons can block lightsabers, because not everyone has a lightsaber. You're going to need something to combat that. But also the middle of the staff, and that is made of something called cortosis ore. It's from the expanded universe. It's a metal which is resistant to lightsabers, and they never cover that in the movies, and I think it's something that they should have covered, but I think that's pretty cool. Grievous makes a really cool escape. I love the character of General Grievous. It's kind of a precursor to Darth Vader in that he's an organic being in this massive robot shell with 4 arms. And you can see he's still got a heart and lungs and organic face under all that plating, but all of his other parts are robotic. We never find out what happened. Maybe it's in a comic or a book, but I don't know what happened to put him in that thing. But he blows out the window of the starship and he jumps out into space because he doesn't need to breathe. He's got an onboard breathing system, and he shoots out a line and swings himself onto the outside of the ship. His metal claws grip the edge and he crawls around to an escape pod. He's just such a versatile. You can imagine the rest of the Clone Wars with this guy as the general of the droid army, even if you didn't watch the Clone Wars TV show, which I really didn't. And then we get to see another thing we've never seen in Star Wars before, the ship making re-entry, because their ship is now crashing. Everyone else has gotten off, but all the escape pods are gone. And the ship breaks apart as re-entry forces and heat, set it afire, and it's coming down to Coruscant, and we see fire ships come in from the side and spray water and foam onto it, kind of trying to put out the fire before it hits the landing strip. And it's just such an high energy way to start the movie. We're like 10-15 minutes into this point, and you have not had a chance to breathe. When we do finally get a chance to breathe, it's Anakin's dream scene. He meets with Padme. You catch up that she's pregnant and their relationship's still going fine, still keeping everything secret. And you see that Anakin is having dreams and visions of Padme dying in childbirth. And you gotta wonder at this point, is this Palpatine sending him these dreams and visions as part of his plan, or is this a genuine vision of prophecy like he had with his mother? And you could see it either way, you really could. If he is having, is it a prophecy that is self-fulfilling? Because without these dreams of prophecy that she's going to die, he would not turn to the dark side. I don't think there's any question about that. This is his motivation for, why does he turn? Because he's had some dark moments before, but he's still essentially mostly good, a Jedi. So he goes and talks to Yoda, and Yoda gives him warning that fear of loss is a path to the dark side, and advises him to train himself to let go of that which he's afraid to lose. Because, as Yoda said in a previous episode, fear leads to anger, leads to hate, which leads to suffering. And it's like a universal truism. That's so true in our own world as well. Of course, he's not going to listen, Anakin, maybe because he was too old when he started the training, maybe because he's just too willful, and he doesn't have the kind of, inner peace and detachment that, say, Qui-Gon had. But how many of us, if we had a legitimate fear, a legitimate view of the future that someone we love that deeply is going to die, how many of us could simply take that advice and learn to let them go and give up, so to speak? No, he's going to do everything he can to save her, because he already lost his mother to the Tusken Raiders, and he's convinced, he swore to her on her grave, like Batman, swearing an oath to his parents' graves that I won't fail next time. And even tells her, I won't lose you the way I lost my mother. And we cut to the Jedi discussing the Chancellor, and we see that there is a rift between the Jedi and the Senate, and it mirrors the rift in our own world, not so much now, but there used to be, when the church was a real power in politics, there would be a rift between how the church wanted to do things and the political power they wielded and the official political structures. And the Jedi kind of take the role of the church in this universe. And they are actually planning to, overthrow the Chancellor if he doesn't lay down his emergency powers after the war is finally ended. They're already suspicious of him. He has stayed in his office long past his term because the people demanded it, yes, of course, but still, they're even though their vision of the future is clouded by the dark side, they know something's up. They know that he's very good at following the will of the people. And has managed to maintain his power long beyond the point when he should have given it up. Then we see Palpatine at the opera, where Anakin comes to visit him, and we see a Cirque du Soleil kind of, show going on. And this is the first of many great scenes with Palpatine, where he sort of seduces Anakin with the power of the dark side. He tells him the story of Darth Plagueis, who was his master as Darth Sidious. A lot of people theorized. who was so powerful he could create life. Now, at one point, Lucas had in the script that Palpatine had actually created Anakin this way, that he had learned this trick from from Darth Plagueis, and he was in fact the creator of Anakin and not just the Force itself. But Lucas took this line out because he wanted Anakin to work as a metaphor for space Jesus. But that was the idea at one point. But that line remains as a remnant of that. And, you know, he reveals that Darth Plagueis was betrayed by his own apprentice, who I guess killed him in his sleep, I think is the way it went. You know, because that's the way the Sith always go. The Sith takes on the apprentice and uses them for their power, and the apprentice will eventually try to overthrow. And the way the Sith mindset works is that if you are clever enough to overthrow your master, you deserve to, and that's the way of the universe. The strong survive. And, you know, this makes all the Sith the strongest they can be. It's a lot like the Transformers. If Starscream ever managed to overthrow Megatron, he would deserve to lead, but he never does, and he never will. Sorry, Starscream. Then we see Yoda and the assault of Kashyyyk. We see the Wookiees fighting the droids. Droids are attacking from the ocean onto a sort of a Normandy beach situation where the droids are the Americans. Damn, I didn't want to compare the Wookiees to Nazis, but there we are. In only military terms, the Wookiees are the Germans in this scenario, defending a beachhead. And it's cool because we get to see a lot more machines, but this is only just like a few minutes, if even that, maybe 2 minutes of an awesome battle. They put so much work into this movie, and it's so packed with stuff, because then we're done with that and on to Obi-Wan on Utapau, where he finds that that's where General Grievous is. And Obi-Wan and Grievous have an awesome lightsaber fight. There's so many lightsaber fights in this movie. It's probably why it's my favorite, because that's my favorite part of Star Wars, is the lightsaber fighting. And we get to see Grievous deploy his four-armed lightsaber fighting style, and Obi-Wan cuts off two of his hands pretty quick. But then Obi-Wan loses his lightsaber, and he has to fight, you know, another person like Jango Fett in the last movie. He has to fight Grievous and defeat him without his lightsaber. For all the times he admonishes Anakin, don't lose your lightsaber, he loses it more often than Anakin does. Yeah, so then we have Anakin going to Palpatine, and Palpatine finally reveals to him, just, you know, Anakin's not suspicious at all. Palpatine reveals to him out of nowhere that he is the Sith Lord. He's just talking about the Force, and he's like, well, you know, there are Force abilities that you can't learn from the Jedi. And he's like, oh, really? How do you know? He's like, oh, well, I know how to use the Force. Like, what? This is out of nowhere. And then finally he catches on. He's like, you're the Sith Lord. And he ignites his lightsaber. And, you know, he's like, are you going to kill me? Or what? You know, I'm trying to help you save... That Palpatine says, I know how to save your wife. You know how to save Padme from dying, revealing not only that he knows he's got this secret marriage, but also that he's been having visions of her death, which strengthens the idea maybe he's sending the visions. But it doesn't have to. He has foresight. He can, you know, see the future, or at least plan well enough that he can sort of see the future. I've always theorized that his ability to see the future is what's clouding the future from the Jedi's ability to see it. Like, one person can kind of extend their Force ability and control the probabilities of the future, but that's just fan theory. So, he asks, you gonna kill me? And he's like, I would certainly like to, but Anakin wants to save Padme more than anything, and there's other shit going on, so he has to... you know, he goes and tells the Jedi instead. He tells Mace Windu right away that Palpatine is the Sith Lord. And Mace Windu takes some Jedi over there, and Anakin wants to go along because obviously he wants Palpatine to stay alive. He's afraid they're going to kill him, which they are. But Mace tells him, no, stay here. If what you're telling me is true, you'll have earned my trust. You'll have gained my trust. So Mace Windu and 3 other Jedi show up to confront the Chancellor, and technically they are overthrowing him. They're talking about how they will have to take control of the government if they have to do this. And here it is, when he says it's treason, then, in a sense, it kind of is. He is the duly elected leader of the society, and they are, you know, they are not. But he is a Sith Lord, and maybe if the people knew he was a Sith Lord, they might feel differently. Then again, maybe they wouldn't. You know, this all never comes into the light of day for the people to actually decide. In any case, it is more of a shadow democracy at this point. This is a story of how a democracy turns into an authoritarian society, and without getting too close to real world politics, I'll just say it's a sad thing when a democracy turns into an authoritarian society because of a leader who obfuscates his true motives and refuses to, who just abuses his power like that. And that's all I'll say on that subject. So Palpatine pulls out his lightsaber, jumps across the room spinning for some reason, and kills 3 Jedi in like 3 seconds. And he and Mace have a quick fight. And when Anakin shows up, Mace has actually defeated him. He's got his lightsaber away from him, he's got him on the ground, and he's about to kill him. And Anakin is given a choice. He can either help Mace Windu or he can help Palpatine. If he helps Mace, they're going to kill the Chancellor and Palpatine, and he won't have the chance to save Padme. This is when the Emperor becomes the Emperor physically. His own Force lightning is reflected back at him, turning him into the Emperor we see in Empire, with the messed up face and the yellow eyes. Which is a great irony that his own dark power is what twisted him this way. But of course, Anakin has to side with his feelings, and his feelings insist that Palpatine live so that he can help him save Padme from dying, which he's convinced she's going to die. Which she is, though, but because of his own actions, as we'll see. So Anakin cuts off Mace Windu's arm, and then Palpatine hurls him out the window, and then this is so great. He's like, okay, well, I've come to your side. I guess I'm going to turn to the dark side now, and what's this secret of how do we save my freaking wife? And Palpatine says, only one has ever learned this power to stop people from dying, but I know if we work together, we can discover the secret. It's like now he finds out, oh shit, you don't even know. This deal keeps getting worse all the time. So, Anakin is sent out, Vader, he is rechristened as Darth Vader, and now Vader is sent out to the Jedi Temple. They both agree that, the Jedi are now all a threat to the Republic. They all are traitors and they all have to be killed. And so he sends Darth Vader to the Jedi Temple to kill anyone who finds there. And the reason why Anakin, he killed Tusken Raider children, yes? But they were sand people, and sand people are largely seen as more brutal and animalistic. It's a very brutal society. These are human and alien children who are much more civilized. They're Jedi, just like he was. Exactly like he was in the first movie. And he slaughters them. And the reason why he has to do this, in the games, it's established better that doing evil deeds gives you more dark side power. Doing good deeds raises your light side power. Doing evil helps you gain dark side power. And so he really does need to do these really evil things in order. Palpatine even tells him this will give you the power that you'll need to complete the plan, to win the war and all that. So he goes to the Jedi Temple, slaughters everyone there. Palpatine gives Order 66, and we see the danger of blind loyalty. The clones are blindly loyal. They're programmed to be that way genetically. They are predisposed to follow any order that's given to them, even though they've been fighting alongside the Jedi generals. It's a very sad scene, very touching and moving emotionally, when all the Jedi are betrayed and gunned down by their own soldiers. As we'll learn later on, a few Jedi survived the Purge, but not many. Most of them members of the Council, who we really haven't gotten to know too well in the movies, but still, it's very sad when they all die. Yeah. So, and I just want to take a moment to say, poor Padme in this movie, she's pregnant and she gets very little to do except the emotional scenes that she gets to act. She got to be an action hero really a lot in the last movie though, and the one before that. But in this movie, she's just pregnant and sad, and it's poor Padme. So then we see that the good guys, Obi-Wan and Bail Organa, I believe, are meeting on Leia's ship from A New Hope. We get to see that in pristine condition, kind of setting up, edging us toward A New Hope. And then the Emperor shows up and becomes the Emperor in front of the Senate. He tells them, for the safety and security, we will now reorganize the Republic into the First Galactic Empire, and everybody cheers. And Padme has my favorite line in any Star Wars. So this is how liberty dies, with thunderous applause. And isn't that just always the way? So then we have Obi-Wan finding out that Anakin has turned, and his reaction is gut-wrenching. This is his brother in arms, the person he's probably closest to in the whole universe, and he sees him slaughtering children. And Ewan McGregor really, really gets his acting chops in here. And then he goes and tells Padme, because Yoda tells him, okay, well, you're going to have to go kill Anakin. I'm going to go kill the Emperor. And Obi-Wan's like, I can't do that. And he's like, you're not strong enough to kill the Emperor. I have to do that. You have to do this. He's like, well, I don't even know where to find him. He's like, follow your feelings and you'll find him. And Obi-Wan still doesn't do that. He goes to Padme and tells her what he's found out, and she doesn't want to believe it. She also has a great reaction to it, but he stows away on her ship as she goes to find Anakin, because she does know where to find him on Mustafar, where he's been killing the Separatist leaders, thus ending the Clone War finally. And we have Padme's confrontation with Anakin, which is the first of two really heartbreaking scenes. The whole ending is heartbreaking. It's very exciting in a physical sense, but very gut-wrenching in an emotional sense. And that's a combination you don't see too often. You know, dramatic and action at the same time. Usually one or the other. And she says just some great lines like, you know, you're breaking my heart, Anakin. You're going down a path I can't follow. And he tells her, you know, I'm going to bring peace and security and freedom and justice to my new empire. No, that's what he says to Obi-Wan. What he says to her is, oh god, I forgot now. That was a little while ago. Oh yeah, he makes his offer, the same offer that he'll make to Luke in Empire, which is join me and we can rule the galaxy together. He tells her, I'm strong enough, I can overthrow the Emperor, and together we can rule the galaxy. And she's like, no, I never wanted to be part of a dictatorship. I believe in democracy. I believe in the Republic. Same thing Obi-Wan says a few seconds later, after Anakin force chokes Padme and she passes out. Then Obi-Wan comes down, they rehash the same thing, telling him, my allegiance is to democracy, to the Republic. And Anakin says that from his point of view, you know, the Jedi tried to overthrow the Chancellor, so they're the bad guys. And they both have their points of view. You know, good and evil are really just points of view. But Anakin has been misled and twisted down this dark path by a series of lies and deceptions. They were all deceived by Palpatine. And then we have the greatest lightsaber fight in the history of Star Wars. Some people think it goes on too long. I think it's just perfect, where Obi-Wan and Anakin are fighting with their lightsabers at such incredible speed. They worked so hard in this choreography, and it's not sped up at all. It's just amazing to watch what they're able to do. And there's even a part where I love where Obi-Wan, I think, jumps out into a rickety little pipe, and Anakin follows him onto this rickety little pipe with lava all underneath him. They are so single-mindedly focused on destroying and fighting each other. You know, anyone else would say, hey, let's come back up onto the solid platform and we can keep fighting there. No, no, no. I'm going on this rickety pipe. Come on out here with me. And so they're jumping around in the lava, and this is intercut with Yoda facing down the Emperor, which a confrontation they've both been waiting a long time for. And this is a little bit of lightsaber fighting, but mostly it's them throwing the Senate seats at each other with the Force. And unfortunately, Yoda loses. Very sad for him. But the Emperor is just too powerful at this point. To think of all the evil things he's done. He has amassed so much power after, you know... And that's another advantage of the dark side, why it's so seductive. The dark side is more powerful than the light side. It's a quick and easy path to power, you know. But the light side is good, and so that's its advantage. Which is not, you know, no guarantee you're going to win. But Obi-Wan does win. Anakin tries to jump over him. Obi-Wan cuts off 3 of his limbs in one stroke as Anakin's right overhead. You know, that's why he says, don't try it, I have the high ground. And he tries it. And he loses all 3 of his limbs, and then he slides into the lava, and the lava burns all his skin off, and he's dragging himself up the lava slope, and he's screaming, I hate you! And you just see, like, oh, this is the best way Lucas could have possibly handled this transformation. We didn't know what was under Vader's suit. We had no idea what his backstory was. and this lived up so well to expectations, if not exceeded them. I just love it. You know, it's the central moment of the trilogy, why the trilogy needed to be made, or deserved to be made. Then we have Vader's transformation, getting put in the suit, picked up by the Emperor, and put into his suit, getting the limbs attached on, intercut with Padme giving birth to Luke and Leia, and the medical robot says she's medically fine, but we're still losing her. She's lost the will to live. So your guess is as good as mine why she really dies in a diegetic sense of, like, in the movie. Is Palpatine killing her from a distance with the Force? Is she really just dying of a broken heart? Yeah, who knows? But either way, she has to die for the plot reasons. So it happens. And we get Vader's first few steps, and the only time I think he would ever mention Padme's name in costume, he asks, "Where is Padme?" And the Emperor tells him, "It seems in your anger you killed her," which he knows is a lie, but he knows that rage will be the fuel for Vader's power. And we see that immediately as he destroys the entire room around him. You know, his ability to use the Force is not a bit lessened. It may be increased because of all the things that have happened to him. And as Padme dies, she says to Obi-Wan, "I know there's still," and she trails off. And this is what Luke says, later on, that "I know there's still good in him," is what she was going to say. But she dies before she can finish. So Obi-Wan and Yoda agree to go into exile. And before they do, Yoda tells Obi-Wan that he's found out that Qui-Gon has found the path to immortality, teaches him how to commune with him, and this is being a Force ghost. And then we get Padme's funeral, which is very touching. The only shot of Jar Jar in the movie where he doesn't even get a line this time. He's just sadly walking as part of a procession. And then we end on Vader and the Emperor standing on the ship of a Star Destroyer, watching them build the Death Star, or at least just the initial framework, because it's going to be 30 years before it's finally done. And then Obi-Wan takes Luke and Leia, or Leia goes to Alderaan. We get to see Alderaan finally, before it's destroyed in A New Hope, and the movie finally ends on Tatooine, where Episode 4 will begin, with Luke being given to Owen and Beru. And that's that's just everything in this movie is so good. Every frame, the music, I cannot stress enough how much I love this movie. I just gush about the entire thing. So I think I'm gonna have to skip Solo and Rogue One and pick them up later, or else I'm not going to have these done in time for Rise of Skywalker. So I hope you'll meet me here back next time for Episode 4, A New Hope. And thank you for your time.